The guest of honor, Mr. Deepal Surya-Rachi, who will deliver the convocation address, will be introduced by Dr. Trevor Mendes, Head of the Academic Affairs of the Postgraduate Institute of Management.
Mr. Deepal Surya-Rachi is a much respected corporate personality with over 4 decades of industry experience, and out of that more than 15 years at board level. He proudly claims that he started his career as a sales clerk. He is a fellow member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing UK, fellow member of the Sri Lankan Institute of Marketing, and holds a Masters of Business Administration from the University of Sri Jayewardenepura. He is also an alumni of National University of Singapore, Asian Institute of Management, and the Stanford Business School of USA. Mr. Deepal Surya-Rachi pioneered in disseminating management knowledge in Sinhala through his book series Sinhala in Business and many print and electronic media interventions. He has authored over 15 books in Sinhala and in English, published locally and globally on a wide range of subjects from business to philosophy. Being a leading management development consultant, author, accredited master, coach and a mentor, Mr. Deepal Surya-Rachi has conducted more than 1,000 various programs in over 12 countries across all 5 continents. He serves as an independent non-executive director of AIA Insurance Lanka PLC, Pan Asian Power PLC, Siyapada Finance PLC, Singer Sri Lanka PLC, Kalani Cables PLC, Lanka Shipping and Logistics Private Limited, Prime Lands Residencies Private Limited, and as a member of the Board of Management of the Postgraduate Institute of Management, PIM. He is a consulting partner of RBL Group of USA and the Managing Director of SATI Human Development Institute Private Limited. He functioned as the Managing Director of Aviva NDB Insurance PLC, Commission of Sri Lanka Inventors Commission, and as a non-executive independent director of Sampath Bank. And also he is the past president of the Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing and served on a number of presidential task forces, national bodies such as National Administrative Reforms Commission, National Authority for Teacher Education, Ceylon Chamber of Commerce, and so on. He also served in UNDP in Nepal. He has been recognized by Sri Lanka Institute of Marketing, Sri Lanka chapter of CIM, PIMA, Sri Lanka Insurance Institute for his wide-ranging contributions. I now cordially invite Mr. Deepal Surya-Rachi to address this graduation ceremony. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Trevor, for the kind words. Vice Chancellor, Director of the PIM, Deans of the University of Sri Jayewardenepura, members of the Board of Management and Board of Study, members of the academic and administrative staff, dear graduates and their well-wishers, ladies and gentlemen. I'm indeed grateful and honored to stand in front of you almost after 2.5 decades since I was where you are today. I recall with gratitude all those who guided and supported me in my own MBA journey. If not for them, I would not be here today. First of all, let me congratulate every one of you who graduated today from this prestigious institute. Your loved ones and even your colleagues may have played a role in your success, as the lady who spoke with a few minutes before me confirmed. I salute all of them as well. One of the most powerful lessons I learned having done the MBA is that there are hardly any individual achievements in life. Let me illustrate that with a very personal incident. I got married while doing the MBA. A few months after the marriage, I had to take my wife to a doctor. The doctor's appointment was clashing with the lecture at PIM. If I skipped the class, I would have missed the required attendance, resulting in a repeating of that subject. It was Professor Tilak Fonseca's class, and he meant business. Excuses were very difficult to come by. On the other hand, my wife's condition meant that she sees the doctor on that very day. Finally, I asked one of my colleagues to take my wife, to the doctor. My wife, of course, very kindly agreed to go to the doctor with him. I somehow scooted out during the tea break and made it to Navaloka just in time to see the doctor with my wife and release my friend. This was only one instance that goes to prove that my life and what I call my success is not only mine, but so many have contributed to all those achievements. This realization alone is worth the entire MBA process for me. It makes me very humble. As the PIM's advertising slogan suggests, from today onwards, you are called an MBA or an MPA. In other words, a Master in Business Administration or a Master in Public Administration. Historically, a man who has people working for him, especially servants or slaves, was called a master. On the other hand, you're supposed to have acquired a great degree of skill or proficiency in a particular function or a discipline. Though the first definition may be true in some instances, what is relevant most is the second definition, to be a master in business management. With mastering the craft of managing, you unleash the potential that is within you to lead teams, organizations, and eventually the nation. So I wish to explore the concept of mastering. In organizations, what do we really manage? However complex the business organization is, all what we do is managing people, processes, and policies. All organizational activities can be classified under these three topics. After studying so much about business and so many theories and models, perhaps you may not like me taking such a simplistic view about business organizations. In managing these three areas, all what managers do are making yes or no decisions and executing them. That's all. A decision is selecting one from two or more options based either on the past experience, knowledge, or an assumptions about the future. Even if you use gut feel, it's an assumption about the future. And you do that in the present moment. However complex the decision-making process you follow, eventually manager's decision got to be a yes or a no. When making decisions, we always think it is the right decision. Nobody makes wrong decisions. Whether it is right or wrong can be determined only in the future. Ideally, the best decisions are those that are right by the enterprise. Ideally, a leader must first consider the interest of the enterprise, then his or her division, and finally self before making a decision. At the national level, It should be the nation first, political party next, and the individual interest last. Managers or leaders fail to make such decisions when they are conditioned or influenced by 4 types of biases or extremes. These are called Satara Agati. I wish to explore these biases or agatis we must try to avoid when making decisions so that we can improve the quality of our decisions. The first bias or agati is Chanda. This means strong attachment, liking, or preference. When the decision maker has a strong preference or an attachment towards an option, then it prevents seeing any negatives. A decision taken giving priority to self-interest rather than that of the enterprise is the result of this bias. When a manager identifies strongly with a particular option, then also the decision can be flawed, for she fails to refuse to see any negatives thereof. The second agati is called dvesha, or extreme dislike. This can manifest as angry reactions to dislikes in various forms. When such dislikes exist, those also prevent us making unbiased decisions. They really blur our view. The third agati is called bhaya, or fear. Fear can range from the fear that comes within due to uncertainty or fear to fail, as well as due to various external forces that can cause pressure on the decision maker. This is called decisions made under duress. That's why such decisions in most instances are not acceptable by law. The fourth and the final agati is called moha, or ignorance. This can also be defined as lack of required information or basing the decision on misinformation. For instance, in the Japanese management, they use a concept called gemba and gembatsu to reduce this error of making decisions with moha. That means by observing the actual occurrence at the actual place. If we can avoid these 4 biases or agatis, to a great extent we can make better decisions. Now the second part, to me the most important part of a decision, is execution or implementation of that decision. Unless you give your full attention, focus and commitment to the process of execution, there is no guarantee that the expected results can be achieved. Managers make seemingly good decisions, but often they fail to execute or implement them wholeheartedly. After making a decision, we tend to identify ourselves with the decision, thinking that this is my decision. The moment we identify ourselves with a decision, we bring our own ego into the equation. Then we do not want to change the decision even if the circumstances change. But if a manager has the right attitude about making decisions, that is considering them as actions taken at a certain point in time, under certain conditions, with certain set of information and assumptions, but when they are not valid anymore, then such smart manager is bold enough to change a decision. In summary, managers manage people, processes and policies. In doing so, they have to make decisions. In making decisions, they need to avoid the 4 agatis, chanda, dvesha and bhaya, moha. Once the decisions are taken, they must ensure those are implemented and be bold to change them if needed. There comes another dimension. We need to focus, since all of this depend on you, the manager, the executive, or the leader. That brings us to the sphere of mastering self that goes beyond mastering business. In the subcontinent, for millennia, we have been finding ways to master self. All our faculties are directed outside. Thus, it is nothing but natural. Most of our explorations are about external world and about others. We are so busy in responding to the demands of these faculties, so much so we forget to look inward unless there is some crisis. Since these faculties command our attention, they are also referred as Indriya. It comes from the word Indra. It means ruler, chief, or master. How true that we are driven by our faculties. Unless we take the same interest that we take to master business management, to manage ourselves, one day we end up paying dearly. The significance of this is beautifully articulated in Dhammapada, the most popular collection of sayings of Buddha. It says, Yo sahassang sahassena sangame manuse jine ekancha jeya attanam sache sangama juttamo. Though one could conquer 1,000 men in battlefield, yet he indeed is the noblest victor who has conquered himself. If one wants to master anything, one has to observe the current situation. To observe, you must pay attention. Paying attention is hindered when attention moves onto other objects or phenomena. This is what we call distraction. Actually, there's nothing that can be called distraction but the change of the object of attention. This is one of our biggest challenges today. As Herbert Simon, the Nobel Award-winning economist, said in 1977, what information consumes is the attention of recipients. Hence, a wealth of information creates a poverty of attention. So to observe, one needs to pay attention. Attention is to focus. To focus, one needs to have silence. Silence means lack of distraction. It is not the absence of external sounds or other stimuli, but a state of being unmoved by different external stimuli or other thoughts that pop up endlessly. True observation is not getting engrossed and losing perspective, but to be able to observe a phenomenon without getting involved. That means observing devoid of biases such as like and dislike. This needs patience and sharpness of awareness. One can observe only what happens here and now. Eventually, the observer can observe the process of observation, leading into a deeper realization of true nature of the observer herself. That the observer too is in a constant flux. Such a person is fully aware and alive to what goes on here and now. This level of inner mastery is a result of an enormous amount of energy and a deep level of stillness. That realization is the true unleashing of a potential of the person. Although the MBA or MPA is related to the professional aspect of your life, I do not think life can be viewed in such a compartmentalized manner as personal life and professional life. These are only different roles we play. Thus, life must be viewed as a cohesive whole. Whether professional or otherwise, in most instances, We seem to know what to do, but there appears to be a gap between what we know and what we do. So mastering is about reducing that gap. To master, improve your observation. To illustrate this, let me share a very interesting Zen story. A samurai father wanted to endow his ancestral sword to one of his sons. Obviously, it got to be the one who is the best swordsman among them, the one who had mastered the craft. So to select the best, father decided to set a ploy. He placed a pillow between the door and the ceiling. Whenever someone opens the door, the pillow would fall. Then he asked his eldest son to enter the room. As planned, the pillow fell, but the son was very fast. He could pull the sword, hit the pillow before it reached the level of his knee. Father said, "You're very good, but not yet a master." Then it was the turn of the second son. Same thing happened, but he was much faster and could cut the pillow into two even before it reached the level of his chest. Father said, "I'm impressed, but you too are not a master." The youngest son knocked on the door, and before opening the door, he checked it for any dangers. And he found the pillow, took it into his hand and placed it away. Obviously, that's a sign of a true samurai, to win even without fighting. This level of mastery comes not only by studying and practicing a certain discipline, but reaching a certain level of mastery over self. Now that you have gained a certain level of mastery in management, may I invite you to commence the process of mastering life. In that, I wish and assure you an interesting journey. Thank you and have a pleasant evening.